I just wanted to start off by giving you a bit of detail around the setup of our department so that as I explain stuff, you understand a bit more. So I sit within revenue management where we've got pricing analysts and we've also got yield managers. So everyone is looking at the data from different angles. As some of my colleagues here have said, that it's key to sit down with the users and understand what it is that they want from the data. So when I came into this department, I was tasked with bringing in an efficient way for the team to get the data quickly, be able to make strategic decisions very quickly. So within Hertz is a car rental business, so we're looking at our bookings, we're looking at our transactions, and within pricing, the key thing is obviously around the bookings. What bookings did they take yesterday? So they needed to be able to come in every morning and have the dashboards ready for them, already refreshed with yesterday's reservations and what transacted. So as an analyst, they can make those decisions. The yield managers needed to be able to see the effect of the strategies on a top level. As well, Hertz is a global company. So we have a copy of our department within Australia, so you can imagine different time zones. So they also needed to be able to come in, log in, and also have that access. And now, as we're going, we've been using Tableau for 2 years. We're starting to get our franchisees on board on our server. And of course, the senior team have heard a bit about this, and also they want access to be able to get in, click, and the data is there for them as well. So you can imagine that all these views are different for each of the users. They're looking at the data from a different angle. One of the things I'd like to add is that although the users are different, if you've got one data set, you can use that one data set for multiple dashboards. So we go into training, so we get new pricing analysts that come in, we get new yield managers, we get the departments that want to come onto the data. So at different points, I find that I'm training a lot more than I'm actually spending time building new dashboards. So one of the things just a few tips, is I'd say give access to the users prior to your session, get them playing around, having a click about, and send them the Tableau videos, the ones that tell you about how to use the filters, how to save things, so that you get that nitty-gritty stuff out the way. You don't want to spend too much time on that. But what you really want to do is provide the detail around your data. So you've sat down, you've built this dashboard, you've done some querying in SQL, you've used Python, you've done something to the data, so much processing. Actually give the people using the dashboards information. So one of my dashboards, I only just look at the last 28 days of bookings. Someone needs to know detail like that, or the next 35 days of what's checking out. So provide them with the detail. Also try and group your users based on what they look at. So have a session with the pricing analysts, separate to a senior team, because the senior team, they're looking at the numbers top level, where the analysts actually really want to be able to dig right into the data. So since design and implementing, there's a few things that I've learned that I would like to share. Don't be so protective of your data. So for myself, at first, when I gave the users access to the dashboards, I locked everyone. I said, lock the data, they can't extract the data. Just look at the visual. But with time, I actually start to realize it's actually empower the users. So I started to open up the option for them to be able to download the data and see it. We've got pricing analysts, they want to touch their data. Open up the editor permissions. It actually helps build a champion within Tableau, someone who actually likes to play with the data, and you actually bring more people wanting to learn about Tableau. Avoid using acronyms. So if you've got franchisees that are going to come on board, or you don't know what users are going to come on board, I had to learn that just don't use them. Within car rental, we love them. And don't forget your legend. So you can be caught up in building your dashboard, your graph. You know that's the last year, this year line. If you forget just that minor thing, you confuse the user. And also, like I said, the data refresh, consider the various time zones. So if you've got users in Australia, you've got users in the Middle East, consider how you're going to do your refresh of your data, so not just the ones that are based local. And it's all about the user and keeping them interacted. So create a mailing list. If you change a dashboard, when you've done any refinements, feel free to email your users and be like, actually, I've done this to this dashboard. And even those that maybe hadn't been using your dashboard for a while, it gives them a click back to it. And I guess with the training, take on feedback. When you train the users, so I've got analysts that are using the dashboard, they have input. And for them to continue using the dashboards, take on what they have to say. And always feel free to go back to your dashboards, refresh them, refine them. As the guy said, when you first build your dashboard, you can be quite cluttered. But as your users give you feedback, it gives you an opportunity to go back and refine. And I'd say my biggest lesson I've learned is that the prettiest dashboard is not always the best or the most useful. So I have to say, I was actually very proud of this when I made it, but all the analysts were like, nope, what is this? We don't want it. So what I was showing you is their booking period. I was like, you can see it on the calendar, it's visual. They could see where the bookings they were taking, but they were all like, no, this is not giving us the information that they want. And that was my lesson using Tableau. Any questions?